Morning, everyone. My name is Ajay. I'm from Google Cloud Malaysia, and I'll be running the webinar today to take you through NotebookLM Enterprise. So maybe Shahira, can I share my screen? Okay, thank you. Okay, it's just, yeah. So a bit of introduction about myself, as I was introduced earlier. My name is Ajay, and I'm actually a customer engineer in Google Cloud. So what customer engineer means is I help our customers to understand the value proposition and how to use or adopt Google Cloud solutions better. So this is the prompt I use to describe myself, and this is the image you see on the right. So it's a combination of a few things that I am actively pursuing right now. So I do a bit of PC gaming, do a bit of hiking, and then I also recently invested in a drone, a DJI drone. So yeah, that's a bit about me, and of course my job is here with Google Malaysia to basically help our customers across the whole country. So the objective of today's call is actually to give all of you an overview about this new collaboration that we have with Ministry of Higher Education, or KPT for short. And this collaboration aims to enable all of you as students to basically understand how you can use this tool for your day-to-day studying and teaching for the lecturers, but how all of you can basically study better with NotebookLM Enterprise. And I will give you an overview of this platform. And what I'm going to do is you can also run through with me. For those of you who already have the licenses, you can run through the demo with me using your own account to understand how it works. And at the end of the session, if you have any questions, feel free to either ask in chat, or you can actually just unmute and you can ask your question to me. Okay, so NotebookLM is an AI tool, and the purpose of NotebookLM is actually, I'm sure all of you use ChatGPT, Gemini, and a lot of other AI tools out there. You use it to synthesize information, you use it to learn better. Now, how NotebookLM is different in this aspect is, rather than you prompting and asking questions where you will get answers from the internet, NotebookLM will actually confine the answers or only use sources that you upload for the source of your responses. So, for example, if you want to review your textbook, you want to review your lecture notes, or you want to review some journals, some reports, you can actually add all of those into NotebookLM. And then in NotebookLM, you can actually ask questions, and all of the answers will be given only from the sources you have uploaded. If you're asking something that is not in the sources, then it basically won't give you any answer. So this is a very different way of how maybe you have used AI tools in the past. And the reason for that is because for the purposes of studying in higher education, you already have a set of study materials which your lecturers or your tutors or your researchers have provided to you. Uh, there, if I take an example of economics, the subject of economics, there are so many different textbooks out there. Your lecturer probably uses a few selected set of textbooks. And this is the same textbook where your final exam questions, where your quiz, where your assignments will be derived from. So how NotebookLM Enterprise plays a role here is the same set of sources that your lecturers use will be the same set of sources that you can use in your notebook. So your lecturers, of course, they will share the content with you, study materials. And let's say every week, let's say you are in week one of your class, let's say your first class is tomorrow. Today, maybe you've already received the course structure, the syllabus. Maybe you've already received your textbooks that you will need for the purpose of this course. So what happens is, once you get those sources and you add it into NotebookLM, you can already start interacting with those sources. You can ask things like, you can ask questions, you can generate a study guide, you can generate an FAQ, quiz, and so on. So there are many different things you can do, which of course I will also touch more on after this. But this is essentially the idea. We don't rely on answers from the internet, not because they are not reliable, but because we want you to have something a bit more structured and a bit more relevant in the context of your life as a student in your respective universities. So NotebookLM for Enterprise, and I'm sure a few of you have used the free version of NotebookLM. There are a few set of feature differences, which I'll share more about. But mainly, the product that we're talking about today is called NotebookLM Enterprise. And one of the key differences or differentiators is the fact that you can upload all of these different types of files. So think about any websites, slide decks, documents, PDFs, any form of PDFs, even though they have images, even though they have, even though they are not OCR. That means you have not scanned it digitally. NotebookLM can still actually read those PDF contents. You can also add YouTube videos if you found some videos on YouTube particularly helpful. You can actually also add those as a source in NotebookLM. And if you have access to recordings of your lecture classes or any other type of audio recording, that audio recording can also be used as a source, meaning anything that was spoken or mentioned in this recording can be referenced by NotebookLM. When you ask questions, it would actually go through the recording and see if there was anything relevant. And last but not least, those of you who do a lot of your reports or any of your any type of outcomes that you need to produce for your university or in your personal life, whether it is a Word document, whether it's a PowerPoint slide, or whether it's an Excel spreadsheet. With NotebookLM Enterprise, you can upload those as is without converting to PDF. So if let's say you have compiled a list of lab results or some kind of calculations in a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet, you don't have to convert that to PDF. That is something you may have done before for the free version of NotebookLM. But now with Enterprise, they can be uploaded as is. And this, again, like I said, this applies to PowerPoint slides and also Word documents. So if your lecturer is sharing these files with you and they are not in PDF, this can actually be easily uploaded in their current format without you needing to do any kind of conversion. And another key difference here, and this is important for all of the students here in the call. I notice we have some lecturers and professors as well, but I'm sure they will agree with what I'm about to say. When you use any free editions or versions of AI tools, they are not exactly free. You are paying for them by giving up your data. So if you use some free AI tools and if you read their terms and conditions, it does say that your prompts or anything that you upload there is actually used to train the AI model, which is being used for that particular solution, or it can be human reviewed for the purposes of quality improvement. Now, you might think that as students, this probably doesn't relate to you so much. It's not very relevant to you, but your lecturers would have a different idea, because what you are doing in university right now, you are coming up with something that is potentially new, that is not already existing out there somewhere. What happens if, let's say, you are a rocket science student and you are researching a new design for a rocket or for a spaceship, and this is your own idea and you spend years in university to come up with this idea? What's going to happen if somebody else from somewhere, some other part of the world, suddenly gets this idea before you, and he or she can actually develop this idea, and next thing you know, your idea is actually already common elsewhere? So this is the not to say dangers of free AI tools, but it's what you as a user need to be aware of. So when you use free AI tools, free might be in the sense that there is no price associated to it in the sense of monetary value, but there's always a cost to it. and the cost is your data. So in NotebookLM Enterprise, this is actually a paid version of NotebookLM, not the free version. Again, this is because we have a collaboration with the Ministry of Higher Education, and they have actually provisioned 128,000 licenses for all of you students and lecturers to use this. Now, when you use NotebookLM Enterprise, none of your data basically goes to is shared with Google or is visible by anybody. Unless and explicitly, if you choose to share your notebook, which is what I'll show later as well, then you can actually let other people access your notebook. But when you upload sources, when you ask questions, when you generate podcasts, video overviews, and so on, all of that information stays personalized and private to you unless you choose to explicitly share it with your fellow students or when you share it with your lecturers. So that's the first most important thing you need to think about. So what this is basically an AI tool where you can do your work securely without having to worry about information being leaked somewhere. Now, the second point here is what I mentioned in my first slide earlier, or in my second slide, the fact that NotebookLM Enterprise does not use information from the internet. So when you ask a question in NotebookLM Enterprise, all the answers will only come from the sources you've uploaded. And we can test it out later in the demo. I'll show you how that works. And one of the good things NotebookLM is, or one of the main reasons why people use NotebookLM is actually to combine or to dissect information across many sources. So even if we don't take the context of teaching and learning, let's say you have you want to buy a new smartphone and you are comparing between Apple, Samsung, Google Pixel, or Oppo, and so on. So what you can do is you can add all of these different phone data sheets or even just their website where all their specifications are listed. And then you can you can ask NotebookLM to compare, let's say, what is the size across all of these different phones, present it to me in the format of a table. And then NotebookLM will give you a table. It will list the dimensions, the size, the weight of each mobile phone, and it will only use information that you explicitly have added. So, of course, this is something you can do for free. I mean, you can do it in the free AI tools, but you don't know where the sources are coming from. You don't know if the iPhone weight and dimensions are coming from Apple's website, or is it another third-party mobile phone review website, which you may not entirely trust. So, of course, if it's just a matter of comparing mobile phones, it doesn't really matter, but you can think about it in bigger use cases or bigger requirements where you want to dissect and understand a certain set of instructions and you want to be in control over what the sources are. So NotebookLM Enterprise gives you a very good way to achieve that without having you to worry about NotebookLM hallucinating. So hallucinating is a word where when you ask the AI model something, it comes up with a ridiculous nonsense or gibberish answer. So it doesn't really answer, it does give you a response, but it actually does not make any sense because it has got lost in its chain of thoughts with all the overload of information that it has. So when we do this in NotebookLM Enterprise, there is almost 0% chance of it happening because it doesn't look beyond the sources you've uploaded. Now, the fourth point here is the fact that NotebookLM Enterprise is powered by our Gemini model, Google's Gemini model. And Gemini, as you know, is multimodal. Multimodal means it can actually ingest content in the form of images, videos, audio, text, PDF, and so on. So that's how earlier when I said you can upload YouTube videos, you can upload audio files. That is actually capable because NotebookLM uses Gemini, which is multimodal. And when it comes to languages, your source, the files that you upload as a source, they don't necessarily have to be in English or in Bahasa. So if you have some source materials that are in a foreign language, in French, in Japanese, in German, and so on, there is no issue actually for NotebookLM Enterprise to understand the content of these materials, because Gemini built in into NotebookLM is actually capable of understanding many languages. And you as the user, you have the option to basically select the language you want to use to interact with NotebookLM Enterprise. So by default, it is English, but if you change the language to, let's say, Cantonese or Mandarin, you can, whatever that you ask, NotebookLM Enterprise will always respond in the language that you have chosen. And then when you have sources in different language, when you get a response from NotebookLM Enterprise, it would still follow the language setting that you have chosen, not the language setting of your sources. And this also applies to things like the audio overview, the podcast, and also video overviews. So again, you are in control of what language you choose to interact with NotebookLM Enterprise. So if you have been using the free version, you may be familiar with the fact that it only supports 50 sources. Some of you may feel that 50 is more than enough. But if you truly want to take advantage of the power of NotebookLM, and you want to understand information at a more deeper level, you want to summarize information across many different sources, 50 is actually not a very good limit. So with the enterprise version, you can actually have 300 sources in one single notebook. That means you can have a combination of PDFs, textbooks, audio recordings, images, websites, and so on. The size of these sources don't matter, only the total number of quantity of those sources matter. So when we say 300 sources, uh, there is no cap on what is the total amount of stuff that you can add in your notebook. It's not like a Google Drive or a SharePoint or a Dropbox or something. It is individually on the number of total sources that you have. So this takes away the burden on um, the the factor of you having to worry about uploading files that are too big. As long as NotebookLM Enterprise can actually understand the content of it, it's actually good enough. So of course, we do have maximum limits for some files. So for example, a PDF file cannot be more than 200 MB. But when you look at your sources in total, there is no limit on the total, the maximum file size you can have. So if you have a PDF which is 200 MB, what you can do is just split the PDF into smaller files and upload them individually into NotebookLM Enterprise. And yeah, there is a typo here. This should be 300 sources. But if you think about, maybe some of you are first year students or final year or postgrads or researchers, but you will come across a certain point in your life as a student, having the need to access information across many different sources, and this could easily be more than 100 sources. Let's say you wanted to prepare a report for your assignment, and you want to include your textbook, medical journals, or financial reports, or many different types of external tools to come up with your, let's say, your report, your thesis, and so on. NotebookLM Enterprise will actually be a very, very good tool for that. Because if you go to, let's say, ChatGPT or the free version of ChatGPT or Gemini, you cannot really control which sources it's going to use to come up with your report or your thesis. You cannot say use only this textbook, use only from this website, and so on. So with NotebookLM Enterprise, the situation is reversed. You give the sources that you want to use, that you will be citing in your FYP report or in your thesis, and then you start working from there. And this makes your life easier because you still have AI capabilities. You can still prompt, but you have the assurance of knowing that the answers are only coming from the sources that you have chosen. And I mentioned this earlier. There is no concept of not supporting Microsoft format, Microsoft files. So if you have Word, PowerPoint, Excel files, you can just upload them as it is, and you don't need to basically convert to PDF. And On the enterprise value, again, this is unique to NotebookLM Enterprise. You have the assurance that any of your sources that you upload, whether it's your own study notes that you've taken a picture of and you upload it to NotebookLM Enterprise, you have the assurance that there is no such thing as Gemini or Google actually using that data to train itself. Because again, this is not a free tool. It is free for you to use if you have the license, but again, somebody has paid for the license. It's not a free tool like what you're using, that you may have been using before. And again, when it comes to people that are working on their FYPs, their theses, uh, hopefully most of you are going to, apply for patents for your own ideas and designs and concepts. So it's very crucial that these ideas are not stolen or end up in other people's hands. Then you cannot actually file for a patent. So that's one thing very important to know. And this particular version of the NotebookLM Enterprise that we are offering, that I'm talking about today, it's actually hosted in a very dedicated environment for Ministry of Higher Education Malaysia. In this environment, there are only the 128,000 students that I spoke about earlier, those which have licenses. Nobody else can come into this environment. So if you had the idea of, let's say, using the license that is provided to you through siswa.ai, and you want to then share a notebook from there to your personal email address. So that will not work when you try to access a notebook with your personal email address, because the access is tied to your university student account. Only that account can be used to access NotebookLM Enterprise. So the reason for this is because it's not to make life difficult for anyone. It's actually to guarantee the sovereignty or the safety of your data, to make sure it is confined to one location without it appearing in too many other places. And if you think about it, some of you, maybe you are working with seniors, maybe you're working with fellow university, your classmates, maybe they are from different courses, different classes, and so on. But at one point, maybe you will need to do a group assignment. Now, what happens if maybe right now you are using like a shared folder for everyone to keep track of all their files, but shared folder, you still need to go into the shared folder, edit the file manually, and then save it back in the shared folder. When you use NotebookLM Enterprise, all of you can work at the same time or at different times in the same notebook, and your work is always going to remain there. So if anybody, let's say, is sick or can't attend the class and the submission of your assignment is due tomorrow, anybody who has access to this notebook can actually do what needs to be done, generate the report, generate the final essay, and so on, and then submit it to your lecturers. So you don't have to worry about what if that one person that I rely heavily upon is not here. Anybody can now be technically a group leader in this case, because you use the concept of sharing notebooks. So how does this translate to what I just said? So essentially, if you're coming from the free version, now instead of I think 50 sources, you now have around 300. Yeah, so that's not 10x, that's actually smaller. And of course, so yeah, basically you have more source capacity, and you have zero conversion friction. Conversion friction here means no need to convert files from Microsoft to PDF. And for me, the most important point personally is the idea that you have 100% data privacy. You control who has access to your notebooks. Nobody can view the prompts and responses that you are using in NotebookLM Enterprise. And sharing is allowed only within this select group of users. And this is our data privacy commitment. Um, a lot of free tools have their own terms and conditions, and they actually list down how your data is actually used to improve services, right? So Google, for example, is very open about this. Now, when we talk about enterprise solutions like NotebookLM Enterprise, these are actually some of the commitments we have. And these are not just things that we write on paper. These are actually audited against and are listed publicly in our website. So if we are found to be of breach of any of these commitments, then that will actually impact us quite a lot. So this is something we openly share. When it comes to enterprise version, these 6 are our commitments, and this is also applicable to NotebookLM Enterprise. So when you use NotebookLM Enterprise, you can be assured that these 6 commitments will be followed through to the fullest level. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is practice, and I think I'm seeing some chat questions about people needing access. So I have Omar with me on the call. He's helping me to respond to that. What I would suggest is maybe for those of you who are trying to access and you're having issues, don't worry, we will get to that shortly. What I want all of you to do is follow through with me as I show you how all of you can use NotebookLM Enterprise. And if you have any questions, then collectively we can look at it together, because maybe your fellow students might have the same question as you. Okay, so before we do anything, all of you have your official student Gmail account. So this is an email account that the university has provided you. It's not an email account which you use for your YouTube, for example. So don't confuse your personal Gmail account with your student Gmail account. When we talk about NotebookLM Enterprise, it will only work explicitly with your student email account. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, to access NotebookLM, you will need to bookmark this link. It's called notebooklm.siswa.ai. Don't worry, you don't have to try it now. I just want to make sure all of you understand how you are going to access, because again, like I mentioned, this is a private version of NotebookLM Enterprise, which is hosted exclusively for Malaysian higher education students. So it has a very specific link to go to. It is not notebooklm.google.com. That will bring you to the free version, which does not have all the benefits I mentioned earlier. And then, of course, once you are in, you can start using it based on what we've discussed. So you don't have to try to access notebooklm.siswa.ai right now. We will do that together. And if you have any issues, we will share with you how you can request for a license for yourself. I will be walking through all of that. So the first thing is, if you go and if you have used NotebookLM and you come across something like this, it does look like NotebookLM, but there are a few differences over here. First thing you will notice is there is this button over here. I mean, this icon over here. It says Ultra. For you, it might say Pro or something else. If it doesn't say Enterprise, that means you are in the wrong version of NotebookLM. This is not the Enterprise version of NotebookLM. This is basically the free version that you are logging in with your personal Google Gmail account. So like I said, if you use your student email account and you access NotebookLM via siswa.ai, then you will be in the correct NotebookLM version. And again, make sure you can, a lot of people, maybe you have more than one Gmail address. So of course your university gives you one, and then you may have your personal Gmail address. So every time you use a Google service, whether it is Google search or YouTube, you actually have an account picker. An account picker is something that appears at the top right corner of the window that you're browsing. And here, what I've noticed happens very frequently is some of you may have forgotten to switch, or maybe forgotten to log into your student account entirely. And what happens is you are actually accessing using your personal email address, which usually ends at gmail.com. So what you need to be mindful of is, step 1, make sure the account that you are logged into is the student or university. It should be at your university name.edu.my or something like that. And then step 2, go to siswa.ai. Siswa.ai is the only place you can access this enterprise version of NotebookLM. You cannot access it in other locations. So you have to be mindful of that and make sure to bookmark the page. So again, if you see this page and it says Pro, Ultra, and I don't know what other terminology, Plus, and so on, those are actually the wrong version. The enterprise version is only accessible through siswa.ai, and make sure you don't use your personal Gmail account or any other account other than your student account. And if you have access to the correct one, you will clearly see enterprise written here and also here. You can see it clearly says NotebookLM Enterprise. So this is when you know you are in the correct version of NotebookLM Enterprise, because there are two things here which are actually reminding you or assuring you that it is actually the enterprise version, right? So yes, I understand some people, maybe you're wondering why you don't have license and so on. We will get to that shortly, but this is some of the important things you need to keep in mind about. And a very important website that you need to be aware of is siswa.ai, because through siswa.ai, when you click this button over here, create NotebookLM, it will actually bring you to the enterprise version of NotebookLM. It will actually bring you here. So I think this might be the 5th or 6th time I'm saying this. The only way to access NotebookLM Enterprise is through siswa.ai. And if I go to, I will quickly switch my tab to siswa.ai. So this is the live siswa.ai, and you can see there is this pop-up over here, which asks you if you have, is your NotebookLM Enterprise active? What you need to do is go over here, and it will open up this window. Key in your, it says here clearly, student email address. Don't enter your personal email address. You will not have access. You can include your email address here, your university email address, and then this tool will check whether you have been assigned a license. And if you are not, I believe the process is you can actually request for the license. So again, let's do this at the end of the session. We don't have to do this now because we still have a few things to cover. What you can do is you can open a new tab, siswa.ai, and just keep it open for now. Right. So the first thing you can do before we get started is we have actually compiled a folder of very useful prompts that you can use as you navigate through NotebookLM. So in this folder, the prompts that we've prepared are actually can be used directly within NotebookLM Enterprise. And if you go to this website or if you scan this QR code, we have prepared those sample prompts for you. So this will be really helpful so that you get an idea how else you can actually use NotebookLM Enterprise. It's not just, it's also important to learn how to prompt properly or in a more effective way so that you get the response that you're looking for. Okay, maybe I'll do the demo first, then we can run to the quiz. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to switch to NotebookLM Enterprise. And okay, you can see this is what NotebookLM Enterprise looks like. You have Enterprise written here. It's written everywhere. And you have up to 500 notebooks that you can create. And today, I mean, right now, what I'm going to show you is how to create a new notebook, assuming this is your first notebook. So the first thing to know is when you create a new notebook, it immediately asks you to upload your sources. So here, you have a few options. You can directly upload from your laptop, just drag and drop, or you can click choose file and it will let you choose files from your laptop. And here you can see the different types of files that are supported. So we support PDFs. If you have a TXT file, that's also okay. Microsoft formats, I spoke about that earlier. Audio files, I mentioned that as well. And these three are image files. What this means is if you have your own notes that you scribble or write down on a piece of paper, you can actually use that as a source for NotebookLM. So what that means is if you've already done your own mind map that you've drawn out very colorfully, very beautifully, or you have your own set of notes that you've written down on a piece of paper, what you can do is take a picture of that, upload it here, together with your other course materials like lecture notes, textbooks, and so on. And then you can get NotebookLM to review your handwritten notes. You can ask, what are the things that I have missed out on? What are the things I should improve, or what have I covered very well? So this becomes a way for you to understand, to test your understanding of a particular domain or a particular topic, because you are asking somebody who has more context than you, and it can actually look at your own notes that you've uploaded. So any type of images, even if it's a picture that you've taken with your phone of a diagram, or your lecturer's slide deck that you've taken a picture of, that can also be used to be uploaded here. Now, the next thing you can do is if you use your university email account and you use Google Docs or Google Slides for your documents and presentations respectively, you can directly click these buttons and add them as is. You can also add websites to NotebookLM Enterprise, but websites here don't refer to websites where you have to log in or you have to pay and then you can see the content. So it has to be websites like Wikipedia, where when you go to the website, all the content is there already. There's no need to log in and so on. So one important thing to keep in mind, if you want to add a website, that's fine. Make sure it's not behind a paywall or behind a that needs a login. So if that's the case, you can't really edit using this way. What you could do is maybe save the page as a PDF and then upload it here. And then this is how you add YouTube videos. You just click on the YouTube button and you just have to copy and paste the YouTube URL over here, and then it becomes a source of its own. If you have somehow you just have a block of text that you want to add as a source, you can just copy and paste it over here. So when you go here, click on this, just paste whatever text you want. Maybe it's a long block of text. You can just paste it here, and then that would be a source of its own. Now, this is usually how you would use NotebookLM. For the purpose of my demo today, I'm actually going to use Discover Sources. Discover Sources, basically, you're asking NotebookLM Enterprise to help you go and find some sources from the internet. And this is the only level of connectivity that it has to the internet. This is the only time when it would go and look for information from the internet. So what I can say here is maybe I'm going to say principles of economics, right? Let's say you're an economics student, and this can be any other topic based on what you're studying right now. And what's happening in the background now is it's actually trying to look from the internet on sources related to principles of economics. What usually happens is you will be listed with a few options from what it has found on the internet, and you have then the ability to select all these sources and then add it to your notebook. Now, it's very easy to find these sources, but what NotebookLM is doing in the background, it's actually trying to see if these are suitable to be used as learning materials. So you will see that a lot of the uh, top websites that it has found, it looks at it from an education perspective. You won't really find like news articles unless it is very relevant to what you're looking for. So sometimes it even takes things from Reddit. So if you don't want things from Reddit because it's not um, published information, it's more of personal opinion, you can also choose to deselect some of these sources. So now I've got a good idea about economics here because I've got so many examples, sources. And the reason why everything is in Malay is because I have set the language of my NotebookLM to Malay. And it is very easy to change. I will show you that shortly. Let me just, maximize my screen. And while my sources are being ingested, NotebookLM now, the spinning icon here means it's trying to understand or index the content. And while this is happening, you can still go ahead and add more sources. And you can see over here, I actually have, I'm only using a very small portion of my limit that of sources that I can add. So while we wait for the rest of it to index, what you can do is basically, number one, maybe see if you want to change your language. So you can go over here, output language, and you can see that there is this option over here. So this is how you can change the language. And again, this is the language which NotebookLM will respond to you. It doesn't matter what's the language of your source files. So let's say you want it to be in Arabic, in Hindi, in Urdu, and so on. You can go over here and look for it. But for the purpose of today's session, I will just put it at default, which is English, and then click Save. And then what I'm going to do is when I hit refresh, you will see this summary, which is originally in Bahasa, will immediately switch to English because I have updated the language of my notebook. And if you notice, most of my sources, if not all of my sources, are actually in Bahasa. They are not in English. But when NotebookLM, I need to just apply it. Okay, my default is not English, so I'll just save here. And then when I refresh again, so what I was saying is it doesn't matter what's the language of your source file. What matters is the language setting that you've chosen under here. So output language determines the language which you interact with NotebookLM. So what I would do at this point is usually I'll go ahead and upload some textbooks that I downloaded from the internet, like on economics. So I found one textbook which is on, one second. Yeah, I found this textbook. It's an O-level textbook from Cambridge on economics, and you can see, you can't see it, but this file is actually around 600 pages long, and NotebookLM has no issue to actually extract the information from these files. And sometimes you will see things like there is an error and so on. That usually happens when you use discover sources to get information from the internet. But when you're uploading files, there should be no issue unless you're uploading a format which is not supported by NotebookLM, like what is listed here. Okay, so we don't have to wait for this to complete. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to a notebook which I've already created before. And this I only use these textbooks that I found. So each of these are around 600 to 700 pages long, and they are only on the concept of economics. So you can see over here, NotebookLM will give you a summary across the three sources, and down here is where you will chat with your sources. Excuse me. So when you ask a question, like if I were to say what is the difference between macroeconomics and microeconomics, for example, by default, you would want to select all sources. That means you're asking NotebookLM to find the answer from all of these three sources, but sometimes maybe you just want the answer to come from this file or from this file, but not this file. So you can actually choose. And when you are selecting this, you will notice that this little button over here, this little text over here will change to indicate where is it actually going to get the answers from, or how many sources it's going to get the answers from. So I will just select all. And now when I click on my prompt, let me just hide this for the time being. When it gives me the response, now it's going to try to read across three different sources, three different textbooks, which definitely has answers to this basic question of what's the difference between macro and microeconomics. And now you are looking at responses, which it has ingested from all of these three sources over here. And one of the cool things here is you will see all these different numbers that are at the end of each sentence. So you might be wondering, what do these numbers actually mean? So this is not a scoring or anything like that. This is actually the built-in functionality of NotebookLM's citation feature. So when you hover over these numbers, it's actually showing you which part of your source did it refer to get the answer that it has provided here. So for example, this sentence alone, it actually referred to this block of source. Now you might notice the numbers actually going up all the way to 8. That means that there were 8 different sections across your 3 sources that it used to get the answer. And if you are keen to, let's say, deep dive into one of this, like for example, does the textbook really say this about total aggregate level of activity and so on? So if I click here, it's going to expand on my source, and it's going to highlight the part it used to come up with this particular line that I'm highlighting in blue over here. So the answer for this answer that was generated by AI actually came from this block of text from this PDF file over here. So this is how you use the reference and citation method, and immediately you see the value, right? This is not something you can do with the free versions of AI tools that you use. Probably they do mention websites that they use for references, but you can't do it at the scale of NotebookLM, where NotebookLM can do it across so many sources, to be exact, 300 sources. So you would usually go ahead and chat, and then you can also do things like create a table for me to explain, for me to understand the differences, right? So sometimes maybe you want it in table form. So these are things that you can prompt to NotebookLM. It won't scold you. If it can't do something, it would say it very politely. But you can be creative, and you can actually control how you want it to respond. So when I say create a table for me, it's actually going to present the answer in the form of a table. You can also ask it to do calculations for you, write code for you if it's relevant for what you're studying, and so on. Now, when you have uploaded the sources, you can explore the Studio feature over here. Studio has a lot of different things that you can do. The first thing I usually always do is I go to mind map. And mind map gives me a bird's eye view, or a larger point of view about all of my different sources. So when I'm looking at a mind map, I'm looking at NotebookLM's understanding of all the concepts that are covered across 3 of these sources. So if I have uploaded if you have uploaded your lecture notes, your textbooks, your own personal notes, it will combine all of those sources to come up with this particular diagram over here, or this mind map over here. So it gives you a very graphical way to understand, if I'm going to start with fundamental concepts of economics, what do I need to know first? I need to know nature and scope of economics, and then I need to know what is right and wrong in economics, and so on, right? So this is a way that it actually helps you understand information before you start deep diving. And let's say just for fun, I find this a bit weird. What does this mean? Economist as technician or social engineer. When I click on this will actually automatically generate a prompt for you, for it to zoom in into this particular aspect of the mind map. So when you click on it, it automatically comes up with the prompt. It says, tell me more about this in the larger context of this. And you can see it's actually going back to this parent node over here, in this mind map, this thing over here, it's actually going back here. And now it's giving you the answer in relation to what you've clicked on. And again, this is also combining across all the different sources that you have. And the other things you can do is also audio overview, which is podcast. So maybe in the interest of time, I won't play the podcast. You can try it out after this anyway. Same thing for video overview as well.
Have you ever stopped to think about how our economy
Yeah, let me mute it. Okay, I can't find the mute button, but yeah, you can see how it generates a video overview for you, right? So this, again, depending on your style, how you choose to learn, you can go ahead and use all these features. There's also things like study guide, which I believe I've already generated here. And study guide over here will basically help you come up with a way to answer. It will give you quizzes in the form of MCQ or structured responses kind of way, or even essay questions. And if you don't want to do it here, you can also always go here and ask it to generate 10 difficult MCQ for me to test my knowledge on. Let's go back to macroeconomics, right? So you can also prompt directly in the chat to say what you want. And see, these difficult MCQs are not coming from the sources. It's actually NotebookLM coming up with a way to ask you a question, and it's grounded to your source over here. So when you use course notes, textbooks that your lecturers use for your syllabus, and when you ask prompts like this, you of course you will not get the same set of questions that you will see in your final exam. That's impossible, but it's a very good way for you to practice. It's a very good way for you to test your understanding and make sure that at least all of these are relevant to what is being taught to you in your university. And the other things you can do is also stuff like FAQ. You can generate FAQ questions for you to maybe um, read and go through in your free time. And if you are researching about something related to history, or if you want to understand something on a chronological order, the timeline studio feature is actually very useful, because when you look at the timeline, it breaks down all the events of your sources in a chronological order. So if your sources mention Middle Age, it's going to start all the way here, prehistoric era. So this is in ascending order, right? So it goes all the way from oldest to latest, all the way here. So this is when the textbook was published, and it also has all the list of characters that you have in your sources. So depending on the context of what you're studying, this can be useful because it gives you a very a simple way to understand who are the characters and what is the timeline of all the content in your sources. Now, before I stop for questions, one more thing I wanted to show you is the share button over here. Share button is again how you will collaborate, whether it's with your fellow classmates or whether it's with your lecturers. Now, when you click the share button, don't worry, this is a fake email, so it's you can do you can there's no yeah, it's okay that it's published here. But when you share or you write somebody's email address here, you actually have the option to specify whether it's going to be a full notebook or is it chat only. So what's the difference? So let's say you have already uploaded your personal handwritten notes here, or something that is private to you here, but you still want to share this notebook for other people to use. What you can do is when you click share and you select chat only, what's going to happen is, yeah, you can click preview. They will only see this view. So what they will see is this. So you can ask things like, so you can see over here, I don't have access to the sources, nor can I use the studio function. So this is a good way for you to um, share notebooks with other people when you don't necessarily want to expose or reveal your sources. So this is what they can do within the chat, within the viewer or chat only option. Or if you choose to share the full notebook, then they basically see what you see over here. So of course, most of the time you will use a full notebook unless you have something sensitive or private here that you don't want to share. So that's basically how you can go about using NotebookLM Enterprise. So I saw throughout my presentation that there were some questions. So what I'll do is I will now maybe address the questions in the Q&A first. Let's see, what do we have in chat? Can we download the output of notebook or is it only available? So yes, you can definitely download. So for example, audio overviews like this one over here, you can actually, if you click this three button, it gives you the option to download. This becomes an MP3 file. Same thing for the video overview. When you go over here, you actually have the download button. And if it's any form of text that you want to download, you can just press this copy button to copy it to your clipboard, and then you can paste it into your report, your Google Doc, and so on. Why the free version has more tools to generate like quizzes, flashcard, infographic, data table, but the enterprise version doesn't. Yes. So I see this question appearing a few times. So I will answer it for everybody who has that question. So if you remember from my slide, I actually showed this slide over here. Let me switch my screen very quickly. 1 second. Yeah, okay. How do I do this? I go here, switch screen. Yes. So do you remember this slide that I shared earlier? The lack of features on enterprise actually goes back to this point over here. What I mentioned is this NotebookLM Enterprise, this is a private version for Malaysia higher education students. What this means is the features that we make available that are available today, like video overview, audio overview, quiz, timeline, and so on, those are abilities of NotebookLM that are confined to the same environment where KPT's Ministry of Higher Education's NotebookLM is currently running. When you look at the free version, you will notice there are more features, but these features actually require your prompts and your source data to be shared with other services around the world from Google. It is still secure, but it is not done in an architecture where your information is confined within a private environment. So how we are addressing this is we are bringing in those features into NotebookLM Enterprise. One feature is coming very, very soon. So the next time you use NotebookLM Enterprise, you might come across a new. But yes, we do acknowledge the fact that it's very helpful for students to use those features like flashcards, infographics, and so on. Those features are coming to NotebookLM Enterprise. It's only a matter of time, and within the next few weeks, you will see one new feature coming very, very soon. And the reason why there is a difference again is because of the fact that NotebookLM Enterprise is a more secure solution. It doesn't need to send your data to other services, or it doesn't need to carry your data to bring it to other places where your data might be exposed. All it does is it processes everything in one single environment, in one single house. So if I can give you an analogy, for NotebookLM free version to, let's say, generate flashcards or infographics. So these features are not available in enterprise yet, right? So for the free version to generate infographics, it needs to take your prompt and your source data. It needs to carry it and go to your neighbor's house. It needs to go to your neighbor and ask your neighbor, can you give me the infographic? Once the infographic is generated, it will come back from your neighbor's house and come to your house and give it to you. NotebookLM Enterprise is different. NotebookLM Enterprise, nothing leaves your house. When you choose to share something with somebody, then it leaves your house. But otherwise, when you generate video overview, audio overview, everything is confined to your house. Your neighbors have no idea what you're doing. And what we are doing, what Google is doing right now is to bring those flashcard, infographics, slide deck, I think it's called slide deck feature into your house so that you don't have to, or your information does not have to leave your house. Some of you might think, yeah, it's okay, I don't mind my neighbors knowing what I'm doing and so on. But when it comes to institutional IP, intellectual property, this is something that is a very serious concern. So we do acknowledge that yes, it might seem that there are fewer features right now. It is work that we are doing right now, and rest assured, we are committed to bringing those features into the enterprise version. It's only a matter of time. Okay. Can we edit the output for video presentation? So what you can't edit the output, but you can influence what the output looks like. So if I go back here, before I click generate video overview, and this works for audio overview as well, what you can do is click customize. So if you have a notebook that you're maintaining for one of your classes, and then your lecturer, this week, your lecturer gives you a new set of course notes or slide deck, right? Once you have added that slide deck here, so then it becomes your source number 4, right? You have a source over here. What you can do is you can go to the audio overview, and instead of just clicking, you can say customize, and you can say focus on source number 4, and preferably you should name, or you should refer to what it is, like week 5 lecture notes, textbook from this person, and so on. So you can say focus on source number 4 in context or relation to the other sources that are in the notebook. Now, what this does is when the podcast is generated, it's going to actually focus the podcast, the two AI podcasters or the AI hosts that are talking, their podcast will actually focus on this new content that was uploaded while still keeping it relevant to what was already there. So if let's say you have week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4 lecture notes, when you upload week 6 lecture notes, you will actually hear or understand week 6 better, but this is in the context of what was already covered before. So in a way, it is just like you are listening to you're listening to a podcast, but it is based on your own lecture notes that the lecturer has provided you. Okay, yeah. So thanks, Omar. I see you're also answering some questions. For those of you who I have not responded to your question, and if it's not related to login issues, yeah, maybe Omar, you want to advise how do we address the login issues, if any? Should they go to siswa.ai and then go from there?
Yes, they can go to siswa.ai and also try to check whether their username inside the list or not. They can click on the check your status now, and if the status is not there, they can fill up the support form.
Okay, thank you, Omar. Yes, so those of you who are very excited to get started, thank you, but don't worry if you can't access. So to give you an idea, what it looks like when you don't have access is when you go here to siswa.ai and you click this button, you will see exactly what I'm seeing right now. So I don't have access, even though I'm sharing this training with you, I don't have access to the version of NotebookLM Enterprise that all of you are using. So if a license has been assigned to you, but you still get this error, that is actually because you are most probably logged into your personal account. You are not logged into your student account. So yes, so I mentioned that many times in my session today. Use the correct email address and go to siswa.ai. Then you will definitely be able to access this enterprise version of NotebookLM. Since we have some time, and if you have questions that have not been addressed, please feel free to use the chat. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump to my quiz, and we don't have prizes for this quiz, but I hope it doesn't discourage you from answering the question. So what you can do is you can put your answer in the chat. It's multiple choice. This just to make it a bit more interactive and see if you've been following what I've been saying so far. So if you're ready, the first question is, what makes Gemini a multi-model AI? Is it A, that it can, is it multimodal because it can support multiple users at once? Is it B, it's multimodal because it can handle different types of input? Or is it C, because it can translate multiple language? There's no all of the above. Only one answer. Yeah, so the answer is actually going to be B, correct? Majority, I mean, all of you got it correct. Multimodal means it can handle different types of input. Multilingual means it can understand different languages. In this case, Gemini is actually both multimodal and multilingual. However, the question specifically asks you, what does it mean when it is multimodal? Okay, so thank you, 100%. Everybody got it right. Next question is, what's one of NotebookLM's most useful feature? Most useful. Is it A, that it can write original content without references? Is it B, it can create study guide, summaries, quizzes from your uploaded materials? Or is it C, that it can actually find academic sources across the internet? So read the question carefully. It says most useful feature. What this means is it's probably all of the features are relevant to NotebookLM, but what's the most useful? So when you talk about writing original content without references, I think as a student, you're not really going to find that very helpful, right? Because if it's writing original content without reference, it's not going to be something that you can credit you can do citations on. You cannot include it in your report and so on. So in fact, if it writes original content without references, it's most probably hallucinating. It's most probably coming up with information that's not there. So in the context of these three questions, answers, B is actually the most relevant because directly as a student, it can help you with all of these different tools. Finding academic sources from across the web, that is one of the function. It's called discover sources, but it may not be the most useful feature for students. So of course, the answer is B. And then last question, which feature provides a podcast style discussion of your uploaded content? What's the name of the content? Is it Canvas? Is it deep research? Or is it audio overview? Okay, so first two questions, answers were B. Luckily, no one has answered B so far. Yeah. Yeah. So the podcast style discussion, which is very, very unique and useful, that's called audio overview, right? And like I shared earlier, you can do many, many things with audio overview, not just upload all your sources at once and then say generate an audio overview. When you have new sources that you're adding, or when you have all these sources, you can actually ask the audio overview to focus on a specific topic or frame the narrative in a certain way. You can say, imagine that 5-year-old kids are listening to this podcast, for example, then they would probably speak a bit differently, right? So all of this you can actually try later when you get your licenses. Okay, so I'm happy to take more questions since we still have time. But what I would ask all of you to do, if you don't mind, if you may, please scan this QR code and record your feedback. This is also going to be a way for us to track any issues that you're having, even though you've already if let's say you're having some kind of other issues other than not having license, please feel free to scan this QR code, or if you've already mentioned it in chat, we'll take note of that. But yes, for everything else on the session so far, please scan the QR code and leave us your feedback. And I will still stay on the line if there are any questions. Feel free to unmute and ask, or you can ask in chat. Oh, oh, okay. Sorry. Omar, do you have a different QR code? Apparently, this one requires access. I think this is the old QR code.
Ajay, it's okay. I open my QR code.
Okay. Yeah, yes, please. Thank you.
Let me open the QR code first.
Sorry about that, folks.
It's okay. Okay, just scan this QR code. Join.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So, this QR code is for feedback form. So anyone yang fill in this feedback form will get the e-certificate lah. And then I saw a few people asking about the recording. The recording let's see, we need access. Let me check first. Okay, I already opened to everyone.
Yeah, so the app version, the mobile version of NotebookLM Enterprise is there's no app for it, but you can actually access it through the same way you would do it in your laptop. So you go to siswa.ai, make sure you're logged into your student account, and then when you click open NotebookLM in siswa.ai, it will actually appear in in your mobile browser. And yes, to Hala, Mrs. Hala, lecturers can get access to NotebookLM Enterprise. In fact, it is encouraged that lecturers use NotebookLM Enterprise as a way to conduct exercises or use it as an interactive textbook. So, Omar, for lecturers to get access, what should they do? Do they mention in the feedback form, or do they reach out to their IT team? Omar, are you there? Okay. For Hala, you had the question, right, Mrs. Hala? So what you can do is you can reach out to your IT department and explicitly mention you want licenses for NotebookLM Enterprise. Yeah. Oh, okay. So Dewa, thank you. You have there is this link that you can click that was sent in chat. Yeah, request Awantec support. Just give us the contacts over there and we will help you to get your license. So I'm looking at the form. You don't really need to fill up the referral name. It's not asking for, it's not mandatory. What you need to give is your name, mobile number, university email, education level, role, faculty, university, and type of issue, and then yeah, describe your issue. Yeah, so if you have filled up the form, I don't think it will instantly grant you access. Our team will need to review it and assign the license to you. And I think what they'll do is they will reach out to you via email to confirm that you have actually been added, you've been assigned the license. Okay, so those of you who are still registering, or if you have questions, you can let me know. Otherwise, thank you very much for your time. I hope you found this session useful, and please try to check out NotebookLM Enterprise if you can. Use it for either if you're a lecturer or a student. I think you will find that it's quite a exciting way to take learning and teaching to a whole different level. So thank you for your time and have a nice day.